Welcome back to the last episode of Footlong with American Cheese with your host, Andrew Peter Solaka.
You are not the host.
Owen Whitworth.
Owen Whitworth. I am Owen Whitworth.
And I am Anik Patel.
I'm Ms. Bakan, by the way. I was just introducing Owen.
And we have a guest today.
On the other side.
Back from period 7. I'm sure you remember our guest, Kaden Esparsha.
Yep.
Give us 3 facts about your life, 2 truths and 1 lie.
2 truths, 1 lie.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada. I have 2 dogs, and my parents are divorced.
You don't... Okay, so the lie is he has 2 dogs.
That's not the lie. I'm not from Canada.
Oh, who would have guessed?
Who would have thought?
I actually believed
He's a
was from
Cali
Canada.
boy.
Wah, wah.
On our last episode, we talked about the
Yeah,
Cold
I should've
War
known that he was Canadian.
and suffrage, right?
Civil War, yeah.
No, not Civil War.
Civil rights movement.
And then women's
Sorry.
suffrage.
All right, we left out one big thing about the Cold War. Actually, 2 big things. But first, the first thing is during the Cold War, there was a mass buildup of nuclear weapons. And, like, America would make a nuclear weapon, and then for some reason, because of their advanced security as being the best nation in the world, apparently, Russia got their plans almost about a month after and had the same exact bomb. And then that went on multiple times.
It's because they had spies.
Whoop-de-doo, right?
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
Who would have guessed? I think they figured that out after the first 2 times.
Yeah, last time I checked, 1 plus 3
stole
equals
the
3,
plans.
guys.
They still
With
have
life gives you
spies.
lemons.
And there was a buildup of arms, and they had like hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of nuclear weapons, and then eventually they both came to a realization of a term called mutual destruction, in which
Mutually assured destruction.
mutually assured destruction, where if one side even thought about firing off a bomb, then the entire world would perish because of the amount of warheads they both had. This led to the Cuban.
Wait, did we cover the space race?
Space race?
This we'll go into that. This was about a prime example of this is the Cuban Missile Crisis, in which the USSR put missiles in Cuba, which is very close to the U.S. And that
Really, though, Russia had us outdone.
and that led to almost the end of the world. But we were able to talk down and eventually get the number of warheads in the world lowered. Andrew, I know
I
you
like
also
to
have
I
another
like to
point.
do I like to do analogies. I think the Cuban Missile Crisis was like they had checkmate and somehow we worked a draw.
Checkmate in 65.
Yeah, they had a checkmate and somehow we worked a draw out of it. That's how I can.
Yeah, we gaslit them too.
Yeah, and a conflict opening up this period up was
Really
the
bridging the 2 periods together? Yeah?
It was the Iranian hostage crisis.
Explain it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it started with the United States, the CIA, implementing and conceiving a plan to overthrow the democratically elected leader, because Iran wasn't giving the U.S. oil, and the U.S. wanted oil, like usual.
Yeah.
We love oil.
And they want to install the Shah, which basically the king of Iran, and they were successful at that. And what the Shah did was he nationalized the oil industry and supported the United States with this.
Now, where do the hostages come in?
The hostages come in when a group of Iranian students and militiants stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took 52 American diplomats as hostages. This was because I think one of Jimmy Carter's policies. I don't know. I forgot
No, it was not because of that.
It was
It was because
Carter.
the former leader of Iran was finding
So he was
refuge in America when he was sick.
Oh yeah, it
Iran
was.
wanted him
In the
to
hospitals, right?
No, but they
Iran
thought
wanted
Jimmy
him to
Carter
be-
was allowing this. I mean, which he did, but like.
He did, but it was because, really, what was he gonna do? They were going.
These groups demanded that the U.S. hand over the Shah. The U.S. obviously didn't, and this caused the hostages to be taken.
What did they do to the hostages, though?
The hostages all lived. Yeah, but they were whipped and tortured, but they all lived. Fortunately. Yeah.
But it had a significant impact on the U.S.-Iran relations, in which I mean later I think it was it Reagan handing over weapons, or was it it was the same
It
president
was
handing
Reagan,
over
the Iran-Contra affair.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the Contra
Iran-Contra affair. Reagan funds the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
They're a terrorist group.
They're a terrorist group. But the thing is, the current Afghanistan government was like Soviet funded. So I said, hey, instead of making a proper actual resistance, let's just fund a terrorist group. And that terrorist group eventually becomes Al-Qaeda.
Yeah. And
But at
Al-Qaeda,
least they
as you
weren't
know,
communist.
we're going to get down to it. Al-Qaeda is responsible for the 9/11 attacks, along with Osama bin Laden, who we will also get down into.
All right, well let's
No, why don't we
let's,
just,
let's first talk about Reagan.
Yeah, we didn't talk
economics.
about Reagan and Reaganomics.
Reaganomics, trickle
And-
down.
And was it New Republicanism?
No, it was called New Conservatism. But yeah. I want to explain Reaganomics. I know, Anik, you're a big economics guy.
Reaganomics consisted of emphasized tax cuts, deregulation, and free market capitalism. These policies were intended to stimulate economic growth, reduce inflation, and increase employment. And well, this was a new form of, I wouldn't say new form, but like rejuvenated form of economics that wasn't popular since like the early 1900s.
Yeah, because we saw with the New Deal and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. If you don't know, the Great Society was another.
We covered it.
Oh, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it just covered a lot more welfare, sort of similar to the New Deal. But this was a turning point from that. This is when the U.S. starts to stop giving so much aid to the people and start giving more tax cuts to the more companies, more rich people, instead of giving direct welfare to the people. And the idea that funding these higher powers will eventually have this wealth trickle down. That was a key point of Reaganomics, trickle down economics, which is that by funding companies and giving them tax cuts, stimulate the economy more and eventually lead to greater wealth in the lower classes, stimulating GDP. But this kind of was a conflict in the sense that a lot of people were kind of used to the welfare and having all these government programs available to them, and to have that taken away from them was not exactly the most pleasant thing to be a part of.
Although a lot of people, most people at
the time, actually, yeah.
most people did like Reagan.
Most people, he won in a
Well,
landslide.
yeah,
against
Because he
Trump.
was a celebrity.
No,
Yeah.
that's
No,
not-
no, big conflict.
And the
though,
main-
Because Jimmy Carter was so bad and they just needed something new.
He's still alive.
Okay, he's still alive.
Put
Not
some
for long,
respect on
though.
his name.
He's 96. Unfortunately, his time to perish will come soon.
Unfortunately. Rest in peace, preemptively.
Rest in peace in advance.
Just gotta get out. Just gotta get that out.
If
of
this
the way.
video is being replayed after he's passed away, rest in peace, Jimmy Carter.
Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter.
Did we talk about the fall of the Berlin Wall?
No, follow the Berlin Wall, that rhymes. No,
Follow
but we should
the-
get into new conservatism first.
Wall fall.
Because directly going with the more conservative economic policies come a more conservative social life. You want to explain that,
The
anyone?
feminine mystique.
What?
Yeah.
That was last period.
That was a bro.
That was period 8.
It's a reference. It's the same thing.
Is it illegal to talk about a past period?
Yeah.
It is illegal now.
Oh,
They're just contacts.
Alright, but anyone want to explain? Owen, come here.
Yeah.
Explain new conservatism, please.
And just before you do, this whole new conservatism kind of is characterized by a quote that Albert Einstein himself once said.
he's
that
German, by the way.
We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them.
But back to new conservatism. New conservatism was a kind of response to the growing counterculture movement in the Vietnam period. At this point, the U.S. was getting sort of, much of the U.S. was getting sort of sick of this counterculture and was saying that, hey, we should get back to the more traditional values of America. So we see this more an emphasis on like individual freedom, limited government intervention, so less welfare policies, as we see with Reaganomics, economic liberalism, more free market principles, cultural and social tradition. This is a big one. While new conservatism was also economic, it maintained a more traditional stance on social and cultural issues. I know a lot of these counterculturists were more proponents of like premarital sex, drug use,
Monkey business.
monkey business,
Shenanigans.
that a lot of these new conservatives weren't very big on. So they say, hey, Americans should be more chaste, Americans should follow more traditional norms, have a nuclear family.
Did we explain nuclear family?
A nuclear family is essentially just,
Mother, father, mother stays at home, father goes to work, 2 kids, right?
yeah, 2 kids, and sometimes a dog. But yeah, this can force women more into these traditional gender roles that we sort of saw in what's it called? Period 8.
Period 8. But,
Yeah.
well, not during World War II though, because women had to take up the roles of.
Yeah, not during
men.
World War II, but period 8 is not World War II.
Yeah,
Yeah.
though a lot of men were still at war though.
I don't know, period
Yeah.
9.
But did we talk about the move to the suburbs?
Suburbs, did we?
Okay, so a lot of people moved to the suburbs.
Yeah, suburbs are flourishing in America right now.
Transportation increased. Henry Ford made the automobile and
It
highway.
was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I
no,
know.
but anyways,
But
the suburbs,
the highway
suburbs are important right
transportation
now
system.
because new conservatism is based primarily in the suburbs, not in these urban areas, but in areas where people have their own spaces and are able to build these nuclear families a lot easier. All right. And then, though, America. Back to the Iran stuff. Let's talk about one of the biggest events of period 9/11. Nick, you want to explain that?
Yeah, go ahead, Anik.
All right, so on September 11th, 2001, Al Qaeda and organized also by figurehead Osama bin Laden.
Which is again the Mujahideen group that Ronald Reagan
They
funded.
orchestrated because of the lack of the TSA and realistically any sort of prevention from hijackings, because you could just walk into the airport, waddle onto a plane. That's what they did. 4 planes were hijacked that morning, and then 2 of them hit the Twin Towers. Both of them unfortunately fell, as we know.
The World Trade Center in Manhattan.
Yes, I'm sure. They know. And then one of them hit the Pentagon, which caused catastrophic damage. And another plane that was intended to hit the, the White House. Actually, the passengers on board fought back, and they tried landing the plane, but unfortunately they died in a Virginia field.
Which Bush
All right,
did not
speaking
do.
of 9/11, there were also other perpetrators that were suspected to take part in 9/11. For example, Saddam Hussein. Now, Saddam.
Wait, that's not what happened.
No, I mean, they suspected him.
Oh, you know, actually, no, they did. They
He's
did.
doing
I'm sorry. I apologize, Andrew.
He's doing acapella
I apologize, Andrew.
So, basically, the United States used this to have a reason to infiltrate Iraq. Now, they also suspected that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
And did he have weapons of mass destruction?
We'll get to that.
No, he
We'll get to
didn't.
that.
He
We'll
didn't.
get to that.
Spoiler alert, he didn't.
He
But
didn't.
they just used this as an excuse.
They used that. Now the reason that most likely is that they wanted oil. So, which it's kind
Reasonable.
of true. Yeah.
America. This is
And so-
America. We love oil.
Yes.
Eagle
This
screech.
led to.
Why
This
evil
led
screech?
to.
Why not happy screech? Why not good screech?
I said eagle.
American
Not
eagle.
evil.
If they said evil screech, I think you're being really basic.
Now,
for no
with
reason.
their motivation to find this oil, this led to Operation Iraqi Freedom.
And what
and-
happened?
They executed Saddam Hussein. So yeah, basically they executed Saddam Hussein, and later they found out that he did not have any weapons of mass destruction,
And they were just kind of being.
and they just created a whole war, killed millions.
Like
For no
this is a
reason.
huge like America has done throughout.
Yeah, this is a
throughout
conflict
history.
because-
Did we go over the USSR disbanding?
Did we?
Well, the USSR disbanded.
What was the problem with
They
that?
disbanded, yeah, because Mikhail Gorbachev took power.
And the
go.
Berlin Wall fell because he gave an announcement.
But that's not a conflict. That's
No,
a.
that's not a conflict. It was just
That's what's the opposite of a conflict?
a good
Resolution.
resolution.
Oh, what about a flicked
No,
con?
I was just noting it just for context purposes.
All
So
right.
you know what's going on in the world
Also,
right now.
socially in America after 9/11, there was a lot of
Fear towards Muslims.
And-
Yeah, and this fear led to the Patriot Act being passed. The U.S. Congress passed this, which gave the government expanded powers to investigate and prevent, like quote unquote, prevent acts of terrorism, including the ability to conduct surveillance on suspected terrorists and their activities, and allowed the government to access personal information such as phone, email records, without a warrant in certain circumstances. This really did infringe on civil rights, like right to privacy. And again, it was almost like the Red Scare in the sense that people were afraid of like terrorists in their own borders. This is a conflict because American freedoms are being taken away. A lot of xenophobia and like racism towards Muslims and Saudi Arabians.
I feel like we're seeing a cycle here.
Yeah,
in
and
the United States, that we're seeing that the government, the economy collapses or something goes wrong, and the government steps in to aid it. But then the government oversteps their reach, and then there's just a lot of fear for the government control.
yeah, it's a lot of repeat. Like the Patriot Act was like, oh, this
Alien
act,
Sedition Act, kinda.
this act will help you be patriotic, but you really like in most cases of their wars, it was just a guise in which they could slip under.
Wrapping up the last conflict in American history, that is covered in the curriculum. The digital revolution itself is not a conflict, but it brought conflicts that most people will not realize.
Yeah.
So the digital revolution, it moved the job market more towards jobs of like skill and like online jobs, rather like more like work in an office 9 to 5 type job, rather
Like
than
and like
labor.
college jobs too.
Yeah, rather than just like showing up, swinging a pickaxe, and going home every night.
Yeah,
So
well,
that-
we're blue collared boys.
That upset the labor
We got
unions.
soft hands, brother. No, yeah, and if you look at like a graph, you can see that labor unions from like say the 60s to the like 2000s, and even to today, like a pretty steady and sharp decline. Right?
Well, and absolutely, I do believe there's something to be said about this sort of, how do I put it, this willing ignorance, right? This sort of duality between that consciousness.
What are
of
you
being
talking
aware.
about? What you're just saying words.
Yeah, really. Marginalizing.
He's on TikTok. He just found that word on
Just
TikTok.
saying words.
No, it's from this TikTok audio.
I
It's
thought
like
you looked up A-push on TikTok and you're trying to find something like sophisticated.
You know what I'm referencing, right?
no, I know what he's referencing.
What was the word you said?
No, I'll show you guys later. No, but yeah, labor unions have a steep decrease, and as the workforce shifts to more digital stuff, more traditional laborers feel really,
They gotta go back to college.
yeah, they don't like this shift because it really,
There's less of a need, supply and demand.
Yeah.
Supply was high and demand was low.
Service sector?
yeah,
Down,
it hurt
down,
their pay,
down, down.
and this kind of brings us to today. That's all of A-push period curriculum.
Well, no, they did surgery on a grape.
They did do surgery on a
They,
grape.
there was also a battle between PewDiePie and T-Series. That's way after
Bro.
this.
Bro, nobody cares. But I think that's our time for today, right?
Left that in.
No, I
He
edited
thought
it
that hit. He thought that hit. Play the music. Play the music.
Hey, happy belated Mother's Day out there, by the way.
All right, guys, that was it for Period 9A push.
That was
That's
That's
the whole
the entire
podcast.
That's it. Yeah.
We're gonna drive into
This
the
has
side
been
of a building
Footlong
now.
with American Cheese.
We've
No,
enjoyed this.
I really did enjoy this.
Well, guys,
certain periods.
Guys, I'm announcing my retirement.
From the podcasting?
I'm leaving the band.
We've enjoyed this period with you
Are
guys.
you going solo?
I'm going solo. I'm
And
taking my
damn.
talents.
Oh yeah,
to
by the way,
South
we're in
Beach.
my car right now.
Word?
It's a nice summer day.
Oh yeah? Try getting out.
What? No, I'm in the driver's seat. I can unlock it. Oh, I just did.
Oh.
See you guys.
See you guys.